Hello Stampers, my name is Linda Bedinger and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Denver, Colorado. I'm so glad you could join me today. I have a very pretty little fall card for you and it's So Thankful for You, and I'm using dies in a stamp set, a bundle, and some additional dies, and I want to say before I get started that I continue to get such wonderful, warm wishes from all of you and some wonderful acceptance about my being back, even if it is on a limited basis. I'm going to have to stick to Fridays for a while. There's just too many things in the way. So I will be faithfully putting up on Fridays, and as soon as I can, I'll get back to my regular schedule. Thank you so much for your patience with me. Let's just get started on this fun little card. Here is my card, and it is meant for fall. Mine says, "So thankful for you." I still owe so many thank yous. But I think this would be a great happy birthday fall card, and I think it would be a great thinking of you fall card. I think there's quite a bit you could do with this. And on the inside, I left the sentiment blank so that I could put whatever I wanted when I get ready. And I stamped the pumpkin inside and added another one of these wreath-like things in soft suede, and then brought this strip in from the inside. So that is my card, and what it takes to make this card is a piece of very vanilla that is 8.5 by 5.5, scored and folded at 4 1/4. Then I have 2 pieces of So Saffron that are 4 inches by 5 1/4, one for the outside and one for layering on the inside. Then I have a piece of this designer series paper, and this paper is, it seems a shame not to use that side, this paper is from the Blackberry Beauty suite, and I just thought it brought in the fall colors, sort of browns without getting too dark, and then this little bit of orange in between, and I think it's the perfect complement for this. Then I also have a piece of that same designer series paper that is a 1/2 inch by 4 inches for the inside of the card. And then these are my scrap pieces to cut my wreaths and my pumpkin and my leaves. So I have a scrap of orange, and these pieces are typically, I'm just going to see, this probably is the right size, about 3.5 by 3.5 will allow you to cut one of these wreaths. And then if you're in your green, let me show you the dies. So the wreath is this wreath, and that is from this set of dies. And this set is called Seasonal Swirls dies, and you can see it's got stars, so you could do something for New Year's and Christmas. It's got holly leaves, it's got other kinds of leaves, it's got flowers, it's got bats, it's just got all kinds of stuff in it. More leaves here, different shapes, a pumpkin. This is pine, and then this one that is the leaves, and this is the one I used. And Seasonal Swirls dies is what that's called. Now the other dies that I used, let's see, are the detailed pumpkin dies, and that's these dies, and the one I used was this one. So I used my stamp set that matches this, that is Pretty Pumpkins, and in the Pretty Pumpkins I used the Thankful for You, and you see it's also got to gather together, so it would make a great Thanksgiving card. And this is cute. If friends were pumpkins, I'd pick you. So I used this leaf pumpkin here, and the So Thankful for You, and then this die. So that is what I used for my card. And to save time, I'll show you stamping this one. And what the ink colors I used for this were soft suede, pumpkin pie, and crushed curry. Now I used crushed curry and soft suede paper instead of the So Saffron, because the So Saffron, when I cut out this little wreath, it just disappeared on the So Saffron piece. So I went ahead and did it in crushed curry, and it gave me the contrast that I was looking for. Okay, so for the pumpkin here, I've got my crushed curry ink, and I've got my pumpkin, and I'm just going to make sure I've got plenty of ink on that, and I'm going to stamp my pumpkin, making sure I get pressure all over and letting that sit there for a second to soak up the ink. And there we've got a nice image of our pumpkin. Now, to save time, I have already stamped and cut my pumpkin, and then I have my pumpkin pie ink. Let me put this away. Oh, well, we've got to do one more piece of stamping with that pumpkin, so maybe I'll do that now. And this piece is one that goes on the inside of the card, and I have this pumpkin right down here in this corner. Oh boy, that didn't come out very dark. Let me try that again. Let me get that. I think it's time to re-ink this ink pad. Okay, there we go. Now let's see if we can't get a little better image on that. And I'm going to put that right here in the corner and give that some pressure and let it soak in a little bit. And there, that's much better. Okay, now I think we can push this crushed curry away. And so there is my stamping for the inside of my card. Now then, what I did was I used my pumpkin pie on both of these stamped images. So I used a dauber on my actual pumpkin and kind of went around the edges of that pumpkin to give it more of an orangey pumpkin look, and just got all of the edges, and I dabbed a little bit on some of the leaves on the inside, and I did that same thing on this one for the inside of the card as well, just to get that hint of orange in there. All right, very good. All right, now that's it for that one. Now, my other stamping is that I stamped my So Thankful for You right inside my pumpkin, and that's where I put my sentiment. So there's that So Thankful for You. Isn't that a beautiful font? And I want to make sure I get lots of ink on that one as well, and then center that on my pumpkin and see if we can't get a nice crisp image on the pumpkin. And there we go. So Thankful for You. All right, there we go. Now I think we are done with the stamping for this card, so we can start with assembly. Now I have my wreaths cut ahead of time. There's my crushed curry. There's my pumpkin pie. Oops, it's got little bits and pieces still left in here that need to come out. And then my Mossy Meadow, which is the green that I used. Then I also need one in the soft suede, and these can do double duty because on the inside of my card you'll see I put part of one of these wreaths around the pumpkin here. Well, this is big enough you can get two, so you can do 2 cards with just one die cut on this one. So this one will be available for our decoration on the inside. So the very first thing we need to do is to take our second piece of the So Saffron and put this piece down. And I pushed this in about, I'd say 1/2 inch, and then put that piece down. One of the things that I've noted is that sometimes it's hard to get this seal started. And if you have your silicone mat here, that helps you get it started. What happens is if you stand it up at the end and check off, it brings the glue right to the top. But lots of times we forget to do that. And so just putting it on your silicone mat just grips it and brings that glue right to the top. So then it's very easy to catch the glue. All right, so here we go. So in about 1/2 inch, and we'll line it up with the top of the card. And this piece was cut 5 1/4 by, I think it was 2.5. Yes, 2.5. And I can see that I need to trim off just a little bit here so we get a perfect fit. And that piece is ready to go. Now, to put on my wreaths, I have found that using a dot runner is better than using well, there's lots of things you can do. You can make this a sticker by putting it on some of our sticker paper. But I find that using a dot runner, because the glue isn't on here in a continuous form, as its name implies, it's on here in dots. So it has a tendency to stick more kind of where you want it than to make a big mess. A continuous tape runner would leave lots of glue in the open spaces. So I find that for intricate dies, using this tape runner seems to work pretty well. So there is my green one, and I'm going to do all of mine and get them all ready to go. This one's got a little piece left in it there. So I'm going to go ahead, and the biggest thing to catch are the leaves and then these little ends that are kind of loose here. And if you get just a tiny bit of glue on the end, it helps it stay down. So the first one I want to put on is the gold one. And you'll see on my sample here, I have this little leaf right here at the top, going off a little bit of this piece. And there is method to my madness, because I want that to show up a little bit and be off of this onto the card base itself. Okay, now here's a little trick that I find works pretty well. I'll bring this up so you can see. There's just little shiny bits there where a little bit of the glue got between the webbing of some of these pieces. Not very much in this case. And I'm going to use my gum eraser, and I'm going to go in as I lay these down and take those little bits of glue off, because I think doing that as you go until you're satisfied that you've got a really nice clean application and no little bits of shiny glue showing just helps your work be a little bit more professional looking. And so also I can test and see if I need to add another dab of glue on something here. And you think you've gotten them all, and there you go. So there we go. Now that one is on there just the way I want it, and it's nice and clean. Next, I put on my green one. Now this piece, I suppose we could have done that by putting this on the card first, but you'll see I didn't exceed the border in any case because I kept it just right on the edge. So I'm going to add my seal to this piece and put that on my card front. All right. Make sure I'm putting it on the right side. We've all done that before, haven't we? Okay, there we go. Now that's put into place. And that is ready to go. Next, I want to put on my pumpkin, and I'm just going to add a couple of dimensionals to the back of my pumpkin with my sentiment on it and put that into place. And right in here, I think is just where I want that. And then the other thing that I cut was a bunch of those pumpkin leaves. And when I showed you that die, let me grab it back again. There are 3 little pumpkin leaves here, and this is what they cut out. So there's 3, and since I have to make lots of swaps, I made a bunch of these. So I've got the largest pumpkin leaf, and they're beautiful, and then a medium-sized one, and then it's actually about the same size, just different shape. And so I'll bring that up so you can see those. The 3, and they're actually cut so that you could see through them, which adds just tremendous dimension to them. They're just beautiful leaves. And I'm very fond of leaves anyway. All right. So I'm using both mostly mini dimensionals on the rest of this project because these pieces aren't very big. So I started with one on one of my larger pumpkin leaves here. In fact, maybe that's big enough. I can put 2 of them on there. And then I put this one way up in the corner here, because this corner looked a little bare to me. So I put one there, and then I put another with a mini dimensional on one of these longer leaves and set that in place right in here. There we go. This one I laid flat, your choice. You can see it done either way. This almost adds more dimension because only one is raised. All right, then right in here, this placement, I ended up with a pretty good sized leaves inside that wreath. So I'm just going to add 1 instead of 2. When I put this one together, there were no little leaves up here, but I've got these 2. So I think I'm going to set this one right down here inside. And this one looks like it definitely needs some help, so I'm going to use one of the larger ones, and I'm going to put a dimensional right in the middle, and I'm going to put this leaf so that it comes up over the pumpkin like that. There we go. All right. Now then, the next thing that I did for the decoration on the front was I used some of these Artistry Blooms adhesive back sequins, and these are kind of an orangey color, and I thought that they were particularly complementary to this whole thing. So I'm going to put a couple of them in different places. Oops. to put one on the inside here, and I'm going to put one on my pumpkin right there. Looks like I need one more, and I'm thinking I might just tuck that one right in here. There we go. And so there I've got my odd number of those items in there, and I'll push those leaves away because I've got plenty others to do here. Okay, here is my piece for the inside of my card, and we're going to set that down right in here. But before I do that, I'm going to take my soft suede piece here, and I'm going to do that same thing to glue this up a bit. Add some glue to that piece, and I'm just going to snip this along one end and put that in place. These little lines want to cross over one another, so I will coax that one in place there and bring this one up along here and snip off this one and this one. And with this last little one, I'm going to coax it up a little bit so that it won't interfere with the fold on this card. And let's see, this little piece was right down here. So I'm going to go ahead and put that back into place right in there. Okay, now I can snip these edges off so I have that perfect fit. And I'm going to use my gum eraser to take any of the excess glue off of this, just like we did on the front of the card. I'm pretty happy with that. The last thing we have is to put in place the strip. This is the 1/2 inch strip by 5 1/4 that is going to go right along here. And I'm just going to add some snail to it and put that in place, I think with about a right under a 1/4 inch border all along here. And it looks like this needs just a tiny little snip here for a perfect fit. In fact, I often cut these pieces just a tiny bit long so that I can trim them and then they fit just perfectly. Okay, so this piece is now ready to go on the inside of our card. And there we go, with our leaf, just like we did on the front, hanging over a bit, but not impeding the closing of the card. Oh dear, that didn't get on there straight. Let me see if I can do something about that. That's much better. All right, so now that one is on there straight. All right, very happy with that. And there we have our project finished. Thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel today. I do so appreciate it. And if you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator Well, I'd love to be your demonstrator, or you could join my team. I have a lovely team. These ladies are incredible. They have picked up for me in my time of need and conducted our meetings and supported one another with whatever each of them needed. And my upline, Wanda Williams, jumped in and helped as well. And so I have to tell you that I couldn't be more pleased with my team. They are a lovely bunch of ladies, and I would love to have you join my group. So let's see, my prize draw for the month of October is a $60 shopping spree on me. And how you get yourself in the drawing is by putting an order of any size on my store, lbedinger.stampinup.net. So that's it for me. Again, thank you so much for your continued support. I do so appreciate it. And I will be back soon with more cards, more projects, and more tips. Bye.